Hello everyone, and welcome to this recap from round 5 of the Sinquefield Cup in St. Louis. I'm GM Lars Hansen, Don Corleone here at ICC, and I had the pleasure of being live on the air for this really very, very exciting round 5, the last day before the rest day tomorrow, and clearly the players wanted to go into the rest day with a good result, and we had a fighting round that went for almost 6 hours. Going into the round, Topalov and Aronian were tied for the lead. That changed after the round, where now we have world champion Magnus Carlsen tied for the lead with Aronian. We had 3 draws in the round, but clearly very interesting games. Nakamura, a very creative pawn sacrifice against Giri that we were not exactly sure that it was correct, but it ended with a repetition of moves in a very sharp position, which no player could avoid. We had Aronian and Grischuk, which was a little bit up and down, very enterprising with a very strange pawn structure on both sides, also ended in a draw, and Anand having a slight advantage against Maxim Vachilegrav, winning a pawn, but it was too little to win the rook endgame, so that game was also drawn. And that left us with 2 games where we had a winner. We had the world champion Carlsen winning with white against Wesley So, and we had Fabiano Caruana winning against the co-leader going into the round, Veselin Topalov, in a very interesting game. And we'll take a look at both of these games, starting with Carlsen versus So. Carlsen started with 1e4, which was certainly not necessarily to be expected. Last time these 2 players played with this color, Carlsen played d4 against Wesley, but only managed to draw in the Tata Steel tournament in Vaigensee earlier this year. So this year he came prepared to play an open Sicilian, which he rarely does. In recent years, Carlsen has become a specialist in the Rosolino bishop b5 check. But in this game here, he went for the main line, clearly well prepared for this knight-off variation that So has played in several games, and they follow a theoretical line for some time at f3. And here black has a choice to make. White clearly intends to go g4, the so-called English attack, and black has the option of going h5, weakening the king's side a little bit, but preventing white from going g4. This is a favorite by Topalov and other knight-off specialists. Topalov, by the way, played it earlier in this tournament in a game against Alexander Grischuk that ended in a draw. But So does not mind allowing g4 because he does get counterplay himself on the queen side, hitting the knight with b4. That knight is traded, and knight b6. And now a very interesting decision that Carlsen has to make here. Clearly the d5 pawn is very vulnerable here, and the only way to hold on to that pawn would be to give the 2 bishops, take on b6, but that would clearly allow black a lot of counterplay with a5, a4, and black would be doing fine in this position. So Carlsen instead sacrifices a pawn positionally. This is an idea that has been played in several games, and it is a well-known idea, but it's certainly always a little bit risky going for such a pawn sacrifice. Black more or less has to take that bishop, and then we have the situation where white, in compensation for his pawn, will have a lot of light squares under his control, especially when he's able to push g5, kicking the knight away from d7. And during the broadcast, Christoph Silecki and I actually thought this was a very little risk for white, that the compensation would at least compensate for the missing pawn here. I ran the game afterwards through